Hello students, I hope you are all fine and in good health. In this audio presentation, I will be continuing with the discussion related with the chapter Landscape of the Soul, that is chapter number 4 from Hornbill. So dear students, let's start. A classical Chinese landscape is not meant to reproduce an actual view as would a Western figurative painting. Whereas the European painter wants you to borrow his eyes and look at a particular landscape exactly as he saw it from a specific angle. The Chinese painter does not choose a single viewpoint. The European painter chooses a single viewpoint and practically will help you to understand the painting from his own perception. The way he will present it or the way he had already presented it, he will clarify, he will help you to analyze it from his own perspective. But a Chinese painter will give you the full access, the Chinese painter will give you the full liberty to appreciate and analyze the painting from your own perspective, unlike the European painter. The European painter will actually allow you to visualize his painting from his perspective. He wants you to borrow his eyes, but the Chinese painter won't do that. The Chinese painter will give you the full access to examine and analyze his painting either horizontally or vertically. So let me continue. Whereas the European painter wants you to borrow his eyes and look at a particular landscape exactly as he saw it. That means you will actually appreciate the painting from the viewpoint of the European painter, not from your own viewpoint. The way he wants you to see it, you will see it from his point of view, from a specific angle, or rather to say from a specified angle. The Chinese painter does not choose a single viewpoint. His landscape is not a real one and you can enter it from any point. His landscape is not a new one, and or rather not a real one also, and you can enter it from any point means you can access it, you can analyze it, you can critically evaluate it from any point you choose, unlike the European painter. Because in case of the landscape painting, in case of a European painter, he will select a specified angle and he will actually ask you all to appreciate the painting from that specified or that specific angle. But the Chinese painter won't do that. You can enter the painting from any point, then travel in it. The artist creates a path for your eyes to travel up and down, then back again in a leisurely movement. This is even more true in the case of the horizontal scroll, in which the action of slowly opening one section means one segment. Each and every segment will be exposed, or rather to say, each and every segment will be opened one after another. Then rolling it up to move on to the other adds a dimension of time which is unknown in any other form of painting. The conceptual space, the transportation to a new dimension of time zone, and that makes it unique, that makes it totally different from other form of painting. In other form of painting, we doesn't find this conceptual space moving into the realms of the immortal beauty in terms of art and spirituality. We only find this speciality in case of Chinese painting. It also requires the active participation of the viewer, who decides at what pace he will travel through the painting. That is the reason in case of Chinese painting, as been told earlier, it is a exercise of both physical as well as mental. It is an exercise of the viewer, both physical as well as mental. The Chinese painter does not want you to borrow his eyes, unlike the European painter, because the European painter always wants you to borrow his eyes. That means you will follow the painting from his specified angle, from a certain fixed position. But the Chinese painter does not want you to borrow his eyes. He wants you to enter his mind, and the more and more you will appreciate the painting, the more and more you will be understanding the psyche or the mind of the painter behind the created painting. There lies the truth of a Chinese painting. The Chinese painter does not want you to borrow his eyes, he wants you to enter his mind. The landscape is an inner one, a spiritual and conceptual space. That is the highest level of creativity, and it is also related with creativity and spirituality. We can say the Chinese painting is ultimately a combination of creativity and spirituality. The more you will be able to understand it, the more, rather to say, the more you will be getting inside it, the more you will be appreciating the spirituality and creativity that is related with the Chinese painting. Now, dear students, I am moving on to page number 36. Now we will be getting to know about the concept of San Shui. Now, San Shui, literally it means mountain water, and it is a combination of two complementary poles, as you know it earlier, yin and yang. See, I am moving on with the text. This concept is expressed as San Shui, literally means mountain water, which used together represent the word landscape. More than two elements of an image, these represent two complementary poles reflecting the Daoist view of the universe, and it came from the famous painter Wu Dozi only. The mountain is yang, reaching vertically towards heaven. Stable, warm and dry, these are the characteristic traits of yang. Okay, it is reaching vertically towards heaven, it is stable, it is warm and it is dry in the sun, while the water is in and it is horizontal. Unlike yang, which is vertical, in is horizontal and resting on the earth, fluid, moist and cool. The interaction of yin is actually the receptive, it is the feminine aspect of universal energy, and yang is the masculine aspect of universal energy. So I repeat, in the receptive feminine aspect of universal energy, and its counterpart yang, active and masculine, is of course a fundamental notion of Daoism, notion or ideology or concept that is related with Daoism. What is often overlooked is an essential third element, but in the midst of yin and yang, that is the feminine as well as the masculine aspect of universal energy, what is often overlooked is that essential third element. And dear students, that essential third element is referred as the middle void region. Void means something that is related with emptiness. So let's continue with this line. What is often overlooked? Overlooked means what is often not taken into due consideration. That is, what is often overlooked is an essential third element. And that essential third element is the middle void, where their interaction takes place. Interaction between which two things? Interaction between the two complementary poles, that is yin and yang. This can be compared with the yogic practice of pranayam. And what is the mechanism of the yogic practice of pranayam? Breathe in, retain and breathe out. The suspension of breath is the void where meditation occurs. The middle void is essential, it is very significant. It is the ultimate factor of the meeting point, we can say, between the yin and the yang. Nothing can happen without it, and it is often overlooked. But from a deeper perspective, if we think that it is of no value, it is of no significance, then we are absolutely wrong, because nothing can happen without the presence of the middle void region. Hence the importance of the white unpainted space in Chinese landscape. So the white unpainted space in the Chinese landscape is actually the referred as the middle void region. It is very significant. The interaction between yin and yang ultimately takes place because of the middle void region. The region that is often overlooked, it is actually the most significant contributor related with the meeting point between the yin and the yang. So now, dear students, I'm moving on to the next paragraph. This is also where man finds a fundamental role. In that space between heaven and earth, he becomes a conduit of communication, a mediator, a conduit of communication, you can say, as a linker. He is the one who joins. Okay, it is the human beings who actually is the main conduit of communication between heaven and earth, if we consider it from a bigger perspective. He becomes the conduit of communication between both the poles of the universe. His presence is important. His presence is very essential. Even if it's only suggested, far from being lost or oppressed by the lofty peaks, he is, in Francois Chiong's wonderful expression, the eye of the landscape. According to the art critic Francois Chiong, he has given a very nice term to express it. The role of the human beings between heaven and earth. In between heaven and earth, it is the human beings that acts as the conduit of communication. So ultimately, in the words of Francois Chiong, it is the eye of the landscape. So dear students, I am stopping here in this audio presentation. In my next audio presentation, I will be talking about outsider art, art brut or raw art, and Nick Chan's contribution in terms of sculpture. That will be in my next audio presentation. Till then, dear students, please listen to this audio presentation, and if there is any clarification required, please do ask me about it. I will be clarifying it once again. Thank you, students. Dear students, thank you all.